The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
I don't even like getting into this stuff, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. This Denny Hastert issue. The story broke while I was on the air, as you know, yesterday evening, and I said it appears to me to be blackmail. Turns out it was blackmail. I didn't want to guess what it was about, but off the air I told Mr. Producer what I thought it was about. And unfortunately, I was right. Now, these are just allegations, but, you know, about the potential sexual misconduct while he was a teacher and the wrestling coach. Presumably with a male wrestler, male student. Now, this is being leaked from the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Justice Department, facts that they did not put in the indictment, so this is being leaked. But it's obvious he was blackmailed. And Mr. Producer said to me before we came on the air, and he's right, he said, let me get this straight. So Denny Hastert is being blackmailed, and he's the one charged with federal offenses, having nothing to do with the underlying offense. I guess some statute of limitations would have run by now, and it would probably be a state law, not a federal law. No question about that, actually. So the federal charges are him structuring payments to the alleged blackmailer, blackmailing him, Denny Hastert, to keep silent about whatever took place when he was a high school teacher and a wrestling coach. Now, that seems very strange to me, apart from the underlying offense, which is, if it's true, pretty damn disgusting. I'm talking about the federal issues here. And there's another interesting point I would like to raise from my perspective. There appear to be about 10 reporters for the Washington Compost who are on this story. 10. Denny Hastert hasn't served in public office in years. Denny Hastert is a lobbyist. I never met the man. I always thought he was a wimp. But again, that aside, that's irrelevant. Are there 10 Washington Post reporters on the Clinton Library and the Foundation? Are there 10 Washington Post reporters who investigated Juanita Broderick's charges that Bill Clinton raped her when he was Attorney General? That the President of the United States, when he was Attorney General, raped her? Were there 10 Washington Post reporters investigating that? No. Were there 10 Washington Post reporters ever investigating the sexual abuses of Ted Kennedy? No. Denny Hastert at this point is a nobody. With all due respect to Denny Hastert, he's a nobody. Now, the facts will eventually come out, and hopefully they won't just be leaked from the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Department of Injustice. That's not supposed to be the way our system works. And I am certainly no special pleader for the man. Whatever he did 50 years ago or 45 years ago, obviously he sought to pay to cover it up because he was blackmailed. And then I look at this Al Sharpton, a tax cheat. Anybody prosecuting him? Are there 10 Washington Post reporters on that? No. Now his daughter making allegations? Trying to shake down the city of New York? Are there 10 Washington Post reporters on that? No. And this guy Sharpton, as much as I despise him, and I despise him, unfortunately he's relevant because he has an open door to the President of the United States. Were there 10 reporters on Barack Obama's background and his connection to Bill Ayers and his connections with Wright and his connections with Rashidi and all the other left-wing diabolical pieces of you-know-what? 10 Washington Post reporters on that? Never. Never. Are there 10 Washington Post reporters reporting about how our Constitution is being usurped and eviscerated? No. Not even one. And if that's not enough, there appear to be about 5 New York Slimes reporters on the issue. Is that not incredible to you? I'm not downplaying whatever it is that Denny Hastert did or what's being leaked about him illegally by the government. Now, I said yesterday, and I want to repeat it today, Hastert aside, these requirements that individuals comply with requirements on how much money they can withdraw at a given time, how many times they can do it, and that if you try to avoid it, somehow you've committed a federal offense for structuring is appalling to me. We're not talking about wiring money overseas to Al-Qaeda or ISIS. We're not talking about wiring money at all. We're talking about you going to the bank and taking out $9,999 under the $10,000 threshold, or depositing in different banks $9,999 twice, 3 times, 5 times, and there, prima facie case that you have violated the structuring, that you have sought to structure and violate federal banking laws. That in and of itself is a crime. Oh, you'll be told, well, they're not going to prosecute that unless there's more to it. Who cares? The hell is this? And I don't care if it was passed in 1970. I don't care if Nixon signed it or Reagan signed it or whomever signed it. That's our money. And we're not all drug dealers. And we're not all terrorists. And it's enough of this already. These are banks. Federal law enforcement, federal prosecutors are free to investigate. They're free to subpoena. They're free to take testimony. They're free to impanel grand juries. They're free to indict. They're free to prosecute. They're free to drag you in front of a trial. Fine. But we should be free to move our money around without looking over our shoulder and wondering if we committed a per se strict liability crime because it's over a certain amount, or under a certain amount, I should say. Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? Whatever happened to liberty? Nobody is more outspoken about national security and law enforcement than I. But that doesn't mean you support a police state. That doesn't mean you support a centralized government with this kind of power. It's like the NSA record keeping. The NSA record keeping, would it have stopped 9/11? No, it wouldn't have stopped 9/11. It wouldn't have stopped anything. Now, that said, if the federal government believes it needs 1,000 phone numbers or 10,000 phone numbers or 100,000 phone numbers, good. Go to a court and get a subpoena. But don't nationalize it. I mean, we got to use rationality here. Meanwhile, the local cops are under attack. For doing what? For doing nothing. They haven't done anything. So we're nationalizing local police forces. Are local police forces a threat to this nation? No, they're not a threat to this nation. And without them, you see what happens. Absolute anarchy. Slaughter. Particularly minorities. Slaughtering minorities. Anyway, circling back here, we have all these reporters chasing down the Denny Hastert stuff. Why do you need 10 reporters at the Washington Compost, 5 reporters at the New York Slimes, when the government's leaking the stuff? All you need is a fax machine or a phone or email, and you have your story. And you have your story. But it does amaze me. It does amaze me that when Bill Clinton was accused of rape by a woman, Juanita Broderick, who put her name out there, who put her reputation out there, who would have spoken to anybody that the news media sat on it and sat on it and sat on it for months. No 10 Washington Compost reporters, no 5 New York Slimes reporters, or the background of Barack Obama. I'm not talking about his birth. I'm talking about his associations with domestic terrorists, with the radicals of the worst kind, with anti-Semites. Nothing. Big cover-up. All a secret. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Human beings are imperfect, and some are much more imperfect than others. Why is it that we should consent, or not consent, acquiesce to so much power in the hands of so few? Truly, how many perverts must there be in the United States Congress? How many perverts must there be at the White House? How many perverts must there be at the Environmental Protection Agency? How many perverts must there be in the federal judiciary? Plenty. Plenty. And not just perverts, crooks, goofballs, morons, God knows what. Now, if somebody's a sicko in their private life, that really doesn't affect most of us, unless, of course, they take steps which are criminal, and that brings them into the criminal justice realm. But I'm talking about if they're sickos in their private life and they have nothing to say about my life or your life or policy for the country, great. But why do we give, or why do we acquiesce to more and more power in the hands of fewer and fewer imperfect human beings? You watch these people, they parade around. What the hell do we really know about them? Nothing. Look at this fool John Kerry parading around like a moron. What do we really know about this jerk in his private life? Well, private life is his own business. Well, apparently not. Apparently not. There's all kinds of laws out there regulating private life. Aren't there? I mean, look at this guy. You got this weirdo from Vermont, this Bernie Sanders. He wants to be president. President? He should be a senator. That guy reminds me of homeless people in New York City walking around Penn Station. Daily Caller Foundation, Bernie Sanders, 1972 essay on sex. A woman fantasizes about being raped by 3 men simultaneously. Is that what you fantasize about, women? Well, wow. War on women. No, can't be, because he's a putrid leftist. And we know they don't hate women. They love women. He'll get a pass. Where are the 10 Washington Compost reporters on this jerk? Where are they? Are the 5 New York Slimes reporters? Where are they on this guy? Nowhere. This is a couple of days old. I wasn't going to touch it, but I'm just showing just how incredible and brazen the media are in this country. I'm not saying the Denny Hastert story isn't a story. I'm saying 10 reporters at the at the Washington Post, 5 at the New York Times. The stuff's being leaked to them illegally by the federal government. And I'm also saying I don't buy into this structuring crap either. When it's your own money and banks. Oh, I know we've had successful prosecutions. Great. I'm glad we've had successful prosecutions. How many times do we hear there's too many people in prison? Too many people in prison. We have to decriminalize this and decriminalize that. Okay, how about decriminalizing perfectly legitimate, harmless behavior? Let's see, I have $50,000 that I inherited. I'm going to put $9,900 here, $9,900 there, $9,900 here, $9,900. Ooh. All of a sudden, I'm under investigation. Or I could be. What did I do? Nothing. Nothing. No, but we need them to go after drug kingpins. No, just go after drug kingpins. More on Bernie Sanders. I'm sure this will be all over network TV. I'm sure this is a big story. I'm sure it'll be front page Washington Compost, New York Slimes. If you have children, cover their ears just for a few seconds. Not my fault. You can blame Bernie Sanders. I can't even read this, actually. I can't read this stuff. I'm not going to read it on the air. This guy is vile. He's disgusting. Would you try and get this guy on my show, Mr. Producer, Bernie Sanders? I'm very serious. See if he'll come on Monday. Tell him I want to discuss his brilliant ideology as well as his 1972 essay. Tell him if he has any guts, he'll come on this program. Running around the country, it's time for plain talk. Well, drag your ass on this program, you jerk. I have some questions for you about this 1972 essay and also your police state mentality. Everybody should get something for free. The government should be bigger and more powerful. Oh, yes, we should just be like Sweden. By the way, who the hell wants to be like Sweden? The hell do they have in Sweden? Wants to be, I know, blondes and chocolate candy. Who cares? Well, apparently Bernie Sanders does based on this 1972 article. So let me ask you Democrats and you liberals out there, why are you at war against women? Why is Bernie Sanders your great hero? Why was Bill Clinton your great hero? Why was Ted Kennedy your great hero? The latter two, known, provable, undeniable women abusers, and this guy, just a sicko pervert. Just saying, and I don't need 10 reporters to figure it out either. Todd Aiken never said anything even close to what Bernie Sanders wrote. Certainly Richard Murdoch didn't. And they were trashed not just by the lib media, but by Republicans. And they were trashed not just by the lib media, but by the rhinos, especially Karl Rove. And then they tried to trash the entire Tea Party movement. Remember? Oh, I remember, like yesterday. We'll know more facts about Denny Hastert. Denny Hastert is an old man. He's 70-some years old. Apparently this took place, whatever this is, 50 years ago, 45 years ago. That certainly doesn't excuse it. But it certainly would mean likely the statute of limitations in the state are up. So he's charged with federal crimes involving structuring. Moving money around that otherwise would be perfectly legal to pay off his blackmailer. And the irony, it's a sick irony, is that he's the one being charged with federal offenses. And he's the one that can go to prison, not for some bad act, as they say, quote unquote, or past bad acts, I think was the exact phrase, but for federal violations of the banking laws, structuring. And this is what concerns me, not so much about Denny Hastert, but all the rest of us. Oh, they don't bring charges like that anymore. Oh, no, you're going to be like a terrorist or drug dealer. Well, he's not a terrorist or a drug dealer. He was being blackmailed. But there's 10 Washington Compost reporters of one sort or another. They're on it to what? Sit there and collect leaks from the Obama administration. And yet again, this is important because this is why we must not rely on such a powerful centralized government with a relative handful of people lording over us. Human beings are imperfect. Some human beings are perverts. Some are even worse. I mean, what? As I say, in their private lives, if they're doing things that don't affect the rest of us, that aren't, that aren't criminal or what have you, that's one thing. It's not acceptable. It's just one thing. But it's quite another when these people are in positions of power. I've never understood why some people in this country, not you in this audience, you're too smart, but why so many people in this country seem to believe that if you elect somebody to high office, that they have more virtue, they're nobler, they're more perfect than all the rest of us. They're not. And some of them are real weasels and skunks. To this day, seriously, we know very little about Barack Obama. Very little. Because the Washington Compost has never put 10 reporters on the President of the United States. We don't know how he got into the colleges he got into. We don't know what his grades were. We know very little about this man. We cite his 2 autobiographies, which are humorous to begin with. Guy writes autobiographies. Guy that never did a damn thing. Well, when I was growing up in Hawaii, who gives a crap? And then when people speculate, then when people start, they allow their imaginations to wander, they're ridiculed. And of course, it's silly, but there's a reason for it. Because we've never really been introduced to this man who is the President of the United States, have we? Just like, boom, a flash in the pan, there he is. Boy, it sure shows some kind of weakness in our political system, does it not? Oh, it does. It certainly does. We have people ruling over us today. We have no idea who they are. We don't know a damn thing about the administrator over there at the Environmental Protection Agency. Except one thing. She is an imperfect human being. That much we know. Well, what is she imperfect about? That we don't know. 1,000 federal judges. What do we know about them? Nothing. Supreme Court in June is going to be dictating to us a number of things. It's going to be dictating to us what marriage is. Thousands of years of human history won't matter. Religious liberty won't matter. The First Amendment won't matter. Federalism and the 10th Amendment out the door won't matter. 5 justices, maybe 6, maybe 7, who the hell knows? They're going to tell us. They're going to tell us how we're going to function as a society in this respect, whether we like it or not. Do they have the constitutional power to do it? No. Just because they claim judicial review doesn't mean they have the right to impose their will on us like a judicial oligarchy. And yet they will, and they do. What do we really know about Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Nothing. Except her resume. Except what they want us to know. Or Stephen Breyer. And down the list. Look at a guy like Harry Reid. That guy is corrupt right up to his one eyeball. That guy's corrupt right up to his mob sunglasses. I'm not saying he's mobbed up. What I'm saying is, all of a sudden, this guy's worth $10 million, $20 million. He's living in the penthouse at the Ritz-Carlton. He's swapping land in the middle of the desert. He's making money. There's no 10 Washington Compost reporters investigating that jerk. What do we know about the Pelosi's and her husband and the millions and tens of millions of dollars this guy's made? Any shenanigans there, in and out of government? I don't know, and we'll never know. No 10 reporters on that. There have been many stories about Feinstein and her husband, Richard Haas. Many stories. Never pursued. Never pursued. It is amazing to me which cases become criminal, which cases don't. Which cases wind up at the front page of the dying newspaper industry, and which cases do not. Just saying. I said on Hannity last night, and I meant every word of it, that I do not accept the fact that Hillary Clinton hasn't done prison time. This lady is as corrupt as they come. Her husband is as corrupt as they come. They've produced nothing. Nothing. They've not contributed in any way to the economy, and yet they're worth $150 million. Now, that doesn't just happen, ladies and gentlemen. That doesn't just happen. What are people buying? They're buying access. They're buying favors. They're buying quid pro quos. Whether they actually turn out that way in every case is beside the point. That's what they're doing. And they're doing it in front of our eyes in the light of day. And so corrupt has the Democrat Party become, so corrupt is our government, that she's going to be the nominee of the Democrat Party. And so corrupt have so many of our fellow citizens become, in terms of their morals and their intellect, that'll be perfectly fine by them.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.